Hello and a very warm welcome to Vision of Asia, bringing you the voice of our community. This month surely is providing all with a platform of festivals, education, dialogue, and much more, with events happening throughout the season. Encouraging and applauding the efforts and contributions of South Asians nationwide, tonight's segment incorporates a variety of highlights in the field of medicine, politics, and performance arts, especially with our current focus on representing the political and social interests. So let's begin and take at the headlines for the evening. SAALT response to Muslim ban and representation, exclusive with Suman Raghunathan, the Executive Director. Consulate General of India organizes third Baitak featuring Madhavi Mudgal in New York. AAPI hosts 36th Annual Convention and Scientific Assembly 2018 in Columbus, Ohio. A lot more on the other side of the break. Do stay with us on Vision of Asia, voice of the community. We'll be right back. Welcome again, I am Aditi Lamba and you're watching Vision of Asia. South Asian Americans Leading Together, also known as SAALT, has been one of the strongest national advocacy nonprofit which fights for racial justice and civil rights with an ultimate vision of dignity and full inclusion for all. With groundbreaking work, SAALT works on mobilizing organizations and entities, including the members of the government, in bringing forth social and justice and stand up for issues that impact members of the community. With all being discussed in the current political rhetoric, SAALT is reaching out to the members of the community at unrest and the ones impacted by the current ongoings. Bringing the organization's perspective and advice for the population, especially on Supreme Court's recent upholding of the Muslim ban, Executive Director of SAALT, Ms. Suman Raghunathan, recently spoke to us exclusively. A genuine appeal for the greater South Asian diaspora. Let's take a look at this segment from this conversation. What are the problems that the South Asians are facing, and how massive is the problem for all our viewers to understand? When you look at what's happening in the current political environment, and when you look at what SAALT has been doing in the last 2 years, right? What is your feeling? And how has this whole atmosphere made you feel as the exec director for SAALT, as well as has made the entire community of SAALT in a way feel?
Yeah, well, I think that we're at a critical moment for the country, right? South Asian American immigrant communities, myself, all of our families, I think increasingly are feeling like our place in the nation, our identity as members of our country, as Americans, is increasingly under threat by virtue of who we are perceived as, by virtue of the color of our skin, by virtue of how we pray or we are perceived to pray, and also by virtue of a very sense of belonging in this country. Right now, South Asian Americans, Aditi, are experiencing and really existing in the crosshairs of an increasingly challenging national conversation around race, around class, around immigration status, around religion, and around our nation's calling into question our nation's history as a nation of immigrants.
Right.
All of which is, I think, really building to a sense of deep, fundamental questions, and also an incredibly important and challenging opportunity for those of us in the South Asian American community, as well as for immigrant communities as a whole, to make sure that we are very clear and very vocal, that we have a place in this country, that we are not stepping down, that we're not going away, and that we actually are committed to making sure that our nation and our nation's future is a place of justice and equality and opportunity for all.
Could you give us a brief insight into this whole situation about Supreme Court's ban, as well as its implications and what it means for the greater South Asian communities now?
Yeah. Well, so myself and we at SAALT are fundamentally disappointed, deeply disagree with the Supreme Court's decision to uphold the Muslim ban. And finally, I think we remain just as determined as before to make it clear that the Muslim ban does not hold a place in this country. It does not in line with our values as a nation that believes in justice, dignity, and rights for all. And I think it puts us on a slippery slope that we have to fight very, very hard against, because at its core, the Supreme Court decision institutionalized state-sponsored discrimination, in particular against Muslim majority countries. And so knowing that this country has predicated itself and its history and its identity on really welcoming all faiths, all individuals, all immigrant communities to come to the U.S., we are, by virtue of the Supreme Court's decision, we took a step backward as a nation. And we have to make sure that we and our nation's laws actually do all that we can to fight back against the reality and the message that the Supreme Court's decision on the Muslim ban sent. I want to be very clear that by virtue of explicitly banning all individuals from several Muslim majority countries, this nation really and the Supreme Court sent a message to folks from really across the globe who have historically wanted to come to the U.S. to seek refuge, to seek solace, to seek protection, that offer is no longer a viable one. And so we, I think, in the community must remain vigilant to make sure that we are not upholding, agreeing, or underlining that attitude and that message as we continue to move forward as a nation. Many of us, are continuing to move forward with lawsuits to actually push back against the Muslim ban. There's legislation that would essentially make sure that no federal money or funding could go toward implementing the ban. And I think we at the community level have to continue to make sure that we stand strong and united against the impact of the ban, because what I can tell you that will absolutely come next.
Why do you think it is the Muslim population being attacked right now? I want to investigate in a way why globally, when you look at the greater Islamic population, they are going through a lot more racism, prejudice, and Islamophobia in that way on a way higher level as compared to perhaps other communities, even other South Asian communities.
Sure.
What do you think is the key reason, Suman?
Well, I can't comment on what's happening on a global level, right? But what I can certainly say is that what we are seeing in the U.S. Is seeing echoes that far presage this in Europe, in India, in Latin America, in various parts of the country, and really, of course, across the globe. So I think, we don't have time really to get into all the root causes, but I will say that there is a troubling echo chamber that is increasingly and unjustly targeting Muslim folks in particular, or those who are perceived as Muslim, right? Srinivas Kuchibutla, when he was killed in Kansas early last year, was seen by his attacker, by his murderer, as someone who was Middle Eastern and someone who was Muslim, neither of which were true, right? So I think it's important for the Indian American community in particular in this country to realize and to be reminded that really no one is safe from violence. It is all a matter of perception. And in particular, I think part of the challenge to the administration and to those who are moving forward with the Muslim ban is the perception that we are all monolithic. Right? That by virtue of our skin color, by virtue of our perceived religion, that we are all the same. We know that's not the case. But part of what's so damaging and demoralizing for so many in our community is the perception that we are all the same, right? And so out of that challenging perception, I think also comes a powerful moment for solidarity, right? That even if we are not Indian, even if we are not Muslim, even if we are not covered by the countries included in the travel ban, we are all affected and all targeted, which means that this is a powerful moment for us to all stand together. There have been individuals who have been the target of violence in this country long before Muslims came via the diaspora to the U.S., right? Black Muslims are one of the most rapidly growing demographic group in the U.S., right? Slavery brought Black Muslims to this country. So unfortunately, the history of violence affecting Muslim communities has been a long, long one in the country. And I think we made some progress to be able to push back against that. And now is the moment for us to redouble our efforts.
So when we are talking about SAALT and all of the active measures that are being taken right now, Suman, for the scared community, for the undocumented community particularly, and as well as the Muslim and the Sikh community, what are some of words of advice, as well as particularly resources they should look forward to? Well,
so number one, knowledge is power, and so is action. I invite folks to follow us on Twitter, to be able to go to our website. We have information around knowing your rights, in particular around immigration enforcement and also with respect to hate violence. We want to make sure that folks know certainly that you continue to have rights and you continue to have protections in this country, regardless of your immigration status, regardless of your religion, and regardless of how long you've been here. And I want folks to know that we are going to continue to fight to make sure that those rights are upheld. In the meantime, we're in a critical election year.
Yes.
We're a nonprofit organization. We don't endorse candidates at all. But what I can ask is that folks continue to stay in touch with us and check out our website and our social media, because we are going to be releasing a voter scorecard in anticipation of the midterm elections, where we are going to select, and in the process of selecting, a number of issues that we know are critical for the South Asian American community, because for those of us who can vote, now is the time to make your voice heard.
Thank you so much for your time, Suman. I really hope that our viewers gain as much knowledge as I did.
Thank you so much for the opportunity again, Aditi.
Beautiful. And that was Suman Raghunathan, the Executive Director for SAALT, one of the most leading national advocacy groups for us, for our community, and for all. Do stay tuned on to ITV Gold for our full conversation with Suman Raghunathan on Inside Scoop. Moving on, let's now take a look at the efforts of the Indian Consulate in New York, which is organizing several events empowering the cultural heritage and presence of India in the tri-state area. The Consulate recently started a BATEC program to bring together members of the community, events promoting Indian culture, art, and its artists. With that vision, the Consulate hopes to assimilate a stronger body of Indians residing in this area. The third BATEC was recently held at the Consulate premises and featured renowned Indian classical dancer Padma Shri Madhavi Mudgal. The successful effort to popularize Indian classical music and dance through an informal setting, the event showcased Madhavi Mudgal and her team of acclaimed dancers present a beautiful classical dance from the Odissi style. Let's take a look at some highlights.
Today we had the third in the series of Baithaks. Baithak was conceived originally to be a platform for informal platform for Indian classical music. But today I think Madhavi, Mudgal and her disciples has given a new dimension to Baithak. I am so happy ITV is covering this event. I would encourage ITV to become a partner in promoting Indian classical dance and music. And what a performance today. I think everybody has a big smile on their face and everybody was elated. Fantastic selections of pieces. Abhinay, Pallavi and Mangalacharan. It started with Mangalacharan. Scintillating pieces, very beautiful, very uplifting. And I think that is what is the objective of Baithak. And I invite all the viewers of ITV to join us, come to the Consulate whenever Baithak is held, and if not, then of course you can see us through ITV.
The next piece is an Abhinay piece. As you all know, that Indian dance has two very distinct aspects. One that you saw just now, abstract movements, but there is a very definite design in terms of the tala structure. And if one relishes those, if one can see those designs happening, there's a lot of other kind of appreciation that you can have if you really understand the tal structure. But you don't have to. Just the rhythm has its own appeal. Abhinay, I think, is the soul of Indian classical dance and is probably unique to any dance in the world. And this text, written in the 12th century, called the Gita Govinda, is the soul of Odissi Abhinay. It was written in the 12th century, and it's believed that it was written by the poet Jayadev for his wife to dance in the temple. So it is written for dance.
And welcome back. You are tuned into Vision of Asia, bringing you prime South Asian highlights from all across. Popularly known as AAPI, the American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, recently held its 36th annual convention and scientific assembly in Columbus, Ohio, bringing together an attendance of over 1,500 leading physicians, health professionals, and scientists. Representing the interests and the needs of the larger body of South Asian health professionals in medicine, AAPI's conventions every year commemorate and recognize the contributions and growth of individuals expanding opportunities and advancements in the field of healthcare. Comprising of sessions, panels, discussions, and much more, the 36th annual convention of AAPI also features several prominent world peace leaders, Bollywood celebrities, politicians, and many other respected figures from the community. We are presenting various segments this week on the annual convention, with tonight's segment highlighting personalities such as Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and Hollywood actress Hema Malini.
This convention has all the things which you can expect. We have a lot of educational activities here. The biggest thing going on about opioid awareness, in which AAPI has kept a complete session. Mr. Sri Ravi Shankar is here. He has given a 9-hour course to our AAPI members in the course of 3 days, which is very well attended.
And, just attending the opioid crisis CME at this convention, it was a great interaction with the speakers as well as attendees.
It's important to understand our body. This is the knowledge that India has always said. First, Sharira Madhyam Kalu Dharma Sadhanam. The body is the instrument for all dharma. So understand the body. Neither at school nor at home, no anyone teaches us about our body thoroughly. So as doctors, as healthcare professionals, first of all, your health needs to be good. And second is you have to create awareness about health in people. See, the opioid problem is growing here in this country. Almost in every province it has become a big issue. And we have done several research work on this, how meditation, yoga,
breathing exercise, Sudarshan Kriya. These things can help people who have the opioid problems. How you can manage pain without painkillers. How you can get over pain just by meditation and yoga without having to use the painkillers. And addictions, all different type of drug addictions is a curse on human race. And if you have to get over that, they need to do something for themselves, and there we can help them with many a technique that will help them become over.
It was really a joy and an honor to be part of this panel of strong, amazing, smart women who are all making a difference in their own way. And I'm looking forward to contributing as well through my capacity, not just through medicine, but as a potential congresswoman. So thank you so much for having me.
Of dreams and romance, the land of kings and emperors, the land of mighty Himalayas and vast serene oceans.
AAPI and the whole AAPI family to be here for Naresh's special year. As you all know, tomorrow night he's going to officially take over the AAPI presidency. We have enjoyed Dr. Gautam Samada's convention so much. I would really like to, we would like to do a similar or even a better convention like Gautam. I hope we can do it. Yes. And I think with the help of the whole AAPI, which is our extended family, friends, and we are all together and we would all work together, and I would really like to have a good convention next year in Atlanta, and everybody's support to Naresh and his new team from tomorrow. Thank you.
AAPI is American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. We have more than 100K physicians in this country, so it's a very large power in this country. And as you all know, top 1% of American economy is physicians, and here we are. And as you all know, every 7th patient in this country is seen by Indian physicians, and we have very good reputation in this country as physicians, what we do for our patients, and we would like to continue our mission and service to the community and for the good health of our American community and our patient population. And I'm very happy to be part of this association, and this is the largest ethnic organization in this country. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to work as the Secretary of AAPI for 2018-19 year. Thank you.
And this wraps up our segment for the South Asian highlights for tonight. For any suggestion or feedback, or to get your voices and organization seen on our show, do write to us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook page at facebook.com/itvgold. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is Vision of Asia, and I am Aditi Lambat. Take care and be well.